Hello everybody, welcome to the new updated Guardian guide for December 2020. I will be recording this in one take, so please bear with me if I mess up sometimes. Not really good at editing, so this is the best I can do. This has been highly requested since we've been getting a lot of updates recently for Guardian and core skills for all classes and new bumps, so here it is. This guide will be split into 3 sections. The first section is going to go over all the skill builds that I made, which is only 3. I made a first pure PvE build, which is only for awakening grinding. It doesn't have much skills to utilize in PvP. It has a few. The second is basically all you need for PvX, and the third is like all the actual skills that are worth to take and you would actually utilize. Alright, let me jump into it straight away. So this is the first skill build that I have made. It's very lightly on your SP. It's below the soft cap, 1500. So let's see what we actually take. Let's jump straight into Awakening, where I basically take everything you would need for grinding. Everything's leveled up except Scorn for Slash, which is basically only for CC. And I haven't taken any core skill to save your skill points for PvP. I'm going to be going over what every skill does again in the next part, but for now let's focus on this. Let's see, I've taken basically from everything from Awakening. Then let's go to pre-awakening. I've taken a choke slam because if you duel for spot you will absolutely need it, and I have taken all the mobility you would need basically to move around grinding with Awakening. From the actual pre-awakening mobility, I took Onwa Subjugation and Blood Circle for healing, and Black Blood Descent to go with Black Blood Descent to go with Onwa Subjugation for a combo linkage for mobility. And I think I've taken is Photo Counter for another mobility and accuracy buff. Plus Fierce Disdain maxed out for iframe and a CC for duel for spot basically. Let's go into the next skill build. This is basically all the stuff you would need. Once again, everything in Awakening. I haven't leveled up Scorn from Slash yet because it's not needed, because I've taken the core Cleansing Flame. You are going to be using this for PvP combos. If you are grinding, let's say high in spots like Ash Forest or Olen's Valley, you would take Glorious Advance for the forward guard, buffing Salva with attack speed and blocking the attacks. For Rabam, aside from the Onwa Circle that I've taken previously for pulling mobs, basically the Rabam got changed. It doesn't apply heal, or it doesn't apply the DP buff that we had before. Now that has been moved to Mountain's Echo, that I've taken over the Onwa Circle that was previously. Okay, so once again, this is only for pulling mobs basically nowadays. It works really well in spots like Star's End. Mountain's Echo is the new 58 Rabam skill. It's really great mobility skill with super armor and 20 DP buff. Highly recommend. From these two, I haven't taken anything because they are not basically worth it for playing Awakening most of the time. Now let's see if in pre-awakening, Rock Slide is what you need for the Rabam. Let's move on. Once again, all these 3 have taken from previously. Now we have extra addition Mountain Slam, which is used for 1v1 combo. And maybe like as a filler in large scale, it has the best add-ons you can take from pre-awakening. Another addition is Avalanche Strike for CC knockdown. Glory Wheel for forward guard or self buff for 10%, not 10%, 5% crit damage for 10 seconds. So basically, let's move to the max one. I've taken extra absolute. You can take that earlier, but I didn't take it here because the SP was already high enough, so I wanted to conserve your SP if you're going for the build. Now for the max one, obviously extra for slowing people down is extremely good. 50% guardian slow, but only for 5 seconds if you hit it right. It's forward guard. Other thing extra I've taken is I maxed out Confluence Slash. And I taken Merciless Mesh. Not really needed, so you can conserve that. Right. Now we go into section part 2, which is more comprehensive look on which all the skills do, basically how they function, how can they be linked together, etc, etc. Now I'm going to probably take this from Awakening Eye. Let's see. From top to bottom, left to right, we have Oma's Blessing. That's your ebuff. It basically is maybe one of the best debuffs in the game. The main thing it does is it gives you 10 seconds super armor, which allows you to freely use other unprotected skills carelessly, you know, just do damage. The other main thing is the crit hit damage plus 20%. It's huge. Accuracy is huge. Crit rate is pretty big as well, but if you have your passive up, you will all be maxed out on 100% anyway. The other addition is you can instantly cast other skills like Dragon's Maw. Otherwise, this skill will be charged. I will show that later. Moving on, Neck Impaler is the Awakening Grab. We don't take this for various reasons, one of which is it's extremely slow and it doesn't have as good reach. It's pretty predictable. You can actually evade the grab because it's that slow. And it's really not good, especially if you're fighting in large scale. You get slow, there is no way to cancel it, so you're stuck in animation. The other thing is, if you're doing the grab, you're grabbing the target in front of you and you're throwing them behind you. Most of the times it bugs out, they get glitched and they teleport back. Other reason is if you're basically in the front line, you grabbing somebody in front of you, you're putting them behind you, you're taking then back attack damage from the front. Other reason is the choke slam, even though it's one of the worst grabs in the game, it's superior because you can cancel it if you basically just want to quick grab somebody and don't want to be stuck in a long animation and want to move on. Guardian shouldn't be grabbing most of the other people. You should just do damage and maybe CC with your core skill. Anyway, moving on, we have the first mobility skill, which is Frostlight. That's a straight up iframe and movement speed buff. You can use it to swap from pre-awakening to awakening. Next on is Glorious Advance. This skill is only used for self buff for 20% attack speed and PV rotations, or before you fight in either 1v1s or large scale. In large scale, I do not recommend this. I recommend staying protected. If you're far away enough to not be hit by any skill, then please, you can use it freely. I'm gonna move on to straight to another buffing skill, which is kinda jumping on. Fireball Rapture, used for PV for pulling and sub buff for 20 AP. Moving next on Glorious Advance, the Searing Fang is one of the highest damaging skills that bursts instantly on second hit. The first hit does half the second hit damage, so it's not as strong. So what we do with the add-ons, I'm gonna go over at the end. you apply the add-ons on the first hit, and then the second hit is even more powerful. Especially with those minus DP and minus evasion buffs. How the skill looks. And if you hold RMB, you go straight into flow suppress. I do not recommend using these after recent changes. The combos on Guardians are way shorter, so most of the times you're not getting this skill off. You're not also utilizing the bound because most of the times you're also CC capped. Because you're going with either a CC from a grab or from a float. You have to extend anyway, and float is not that long to pull off two skills, to pull off Searing Fang into suppress most of the time. If you have attack speed buff, you can try pull it off. It's not recommended these days, especially with 100% resist on knockdowns. Next up, we have Scornful Slash. It's a range float with 2 hits. You can do only 1 hit. This is used if you do not have core cleansing flame. It's used for the old combo or just a range CC. Next is God Incinerator. It's one of the PV grind skills and one of the strongest PvP skills, one of the 3 that you use most of the time. God Incinerator also has a core bound, but I've tried testing it out and it's less superior to the Cleansing Flame, which is float and has higher range, can be more controlled, and most of the time you will CC more people with the core cleansing. Other thing it has is a DP debuff, and for grinding and also PvP, if you're hitting a lot of people, it's extremely useful for recovering your HP because it has 50 HP recovery. I also put another 10 HP for it, so if I'm getting low and I go into a group of a lot of people, a lot of mobs, I can heal fully up if I have, let's say, other elixirs on like Grim Reaper or Draining. Next on is the famous Cleansing Flame, which is full super armor minus 20 AP debuff and a smaller accuracy buff, the second that we have, but it's fully protected. And now used with the core Cleansing Flame, it's float in PvP as well. So every 6 seconds we have big area, big range, big damage, float. Now this is one of the only skills for big damage that doesn't basically have high crit rate. Everything else either has like plus 50% or plus 100%. This one has none. So for this you actually need to buff yourself with plus crit rate. We're gonna go over that with the combos and skill add-ons. But if you have your passive up, which is plus 50%, you should be good most of the time. If not, then your skill add-ons will help you. Right, next one is Dragon's Maw. It's a forward guard charge skill. See, if you don't have the E-buff up, you have to fully charge it for maximum damage. Sometimes used in PvE, in high-end spots, if you need to wait for mobs grouping up or just do protected damage if everything else from your grind rotation is on cooldown. It has also flow, which is super armor. It's kind of animation lock a little bit. You can cancel it with Searing Fang though to end it earlier. This doesn't really do that much damage, but it's a great filler. Or if you're getting rushed, you just either you can cancel with like a sidestep or something, or you can go straight into the super armor. I use it to, sometimes finish people off in large scale PvP because Dragon's Maw can take people down to like maybe 10% sometimes. And this is just the extra small hit that you might need to actually finish them off. Next up, we have the Awakening Juggernaut, which is the prime mobility skill to travel at long distance. It's a forward guard, doesn't consume your stamina, but your stamina doesn't recover by using it. The reason we are using Awakening Juggernaut is only because the cooldown is like half of the pre-awakening one. Otherwise, the pre-awakening one has way better animation. The start is faster, empathy, you still want to be using this one. You can also, if you're chasing somebody, it does damage. So if you hit them, let's say Musa or Meva is running away from you, it's dangerous, but they want to save their lives. So you just run into them from the back, do big damage. It has also 50% accuracy, so a lot of these evasion classes will suffer from it greatly. Next up, I've already been over this, but Fireborn Rupture. I don't recommend this using it in PvP. Just use it before the fight for buffing and pulling mobs, and also it's part of the ground rotation. Next up, we have Infinite Nemesis. This is your basically trump card, whatever you would call it, get out of jail free card. I use it generally for escaping, because if you fly into somewhere with Infinite Nemesis, I'm stuck, I cannot escape. You shouldn't be using this for attacking unless you're really ballsy, you absorb buff and then you destroy everybody with the nuke. Otherwise, don't use it. Right up when you start doing the animation, it's instantly iframe. And lastly, we have Frigid Wind, which is great mobility, great utility skill, also does a little bit of damage. Now, this one is really tricky. It has different ways to utilize this skill. You can only do the slide part, which is fully super armor protected. The next part is a slash, which is unprotected, but does a float. And generally, if you continue past using only the mobility part, you want to use this skill either to CC somebody in 1v1, which is highly risky, or you use it to go into iframe. Basically, afterwards, I'm going to show it. It does 3 attacks while you're teleporting around. You're in iframe, but at the moment you're attacking, you are unprotected, but it's only for few milliseconds, but you can still get CC'd by, let's say, Void from a Tamer or a Zerko, something that periodically CCs. Now, the ending animation is completely lingering iframe if you do not move. So now, mobility, unprotected attack, teleporting, lingering iframe, and now stop. Once you're in this position, the lingering iframe is stopping where you're holding the stuff with both hands. As you're getting up, the lingering iframe still works. So if you're extremely slow, the lingering iframe lasts way longer. Now I'm gonna move a little, talk about a little bit of canceling skills just in Awakening, and ways you can cancel God Incinerator from Fireborn Rapture and Glorious Advance. Mostly you will be using cancel from Fireborn Rapture for PvE grinding. Also, just talking about what I put on my hotbar is Cleansing Flame, Fireborn Rapture, and God Incinerator. All of these skills can be used to swap from pre-awakening to awakening with hotbar. I also recommend using Fireborn Rapture only with hotbar, because you can accidentally press it with Q after using God Incinerator. You don't want that. Maybe sometimes you wanna do God Incinerator and then go straight into block. So I would really recommend using this skill only with hotbar. You can also cast the animation of God Incinerator a little bit faster if you do 2 hits of Glorious Advance, then press Shift Q. Now, usually you do only the first hit for cell buffing. Other way, you can cast only the second hit of Glorious Advances after the Searing Fang, which is a knockback. Want to use it maybe sometimes as a BM finish or just a cell buff after grinding to continue to the next pack. Other thing you might need to know is how to cancel the Frigid Wind lingering iframe is to use go straight into Searing Fang if you CC somebody. Thing is though, if you're not using the core skill bound on Searing Fang, you should probably do Cleansing Flame, which works as well. Oh, excuse me. and then float again. So this is what you should do if you see somebody with frigid wind. Go straight into cleansing flame. Don't think you will see anything. Anyway, moving on to pre-awakening. We have your main iframe into super armor, fierce disdain. Can be used most of the time. This is also used to swap from awakening to pre-awakenings, the one of the main ways to do so. It can also be cancelled now with different skills at the end. One of them is sturdy step, which is shift forward. Let's see, where is my sturdy step? Here we go. It's a forward guard. At the end of the animation, I recommend using S because otherwise you'll be too long in your forward guard. If you hold S, you go straight into your Q block, which is, if you're moving around, strong block, 10 times stronger than your regular forward guard or something like that. And also super armor, even when you're sprinting around like this. And next up we have axe throw. It's 50% slow on range. That also can go straight into photo encounter, which is forward guard movement forward and 12% accuracy buff. By going straight into the forethought encounter, you can use that skill as well while you jump and press R and B. It's a forward guard as well. Now it's pretty good for mobility, moving around, but just be mindful when you're jumping, obviously it's unprotected, and some delay may cause some issues even though you're already in the forward guard. Next up, claw reveal, simple 10 second, 5% crit buff. Avalanche strike. It's a knockdown, but be mindful if you're using this as a extension CC when somebody's on the ground. It's a mess. Let's see, that was a down smash? No? I think that was a down smash, not sure. Most of the time, or usually sometimes, it does a down smash instead of knockdown. So that's why we're not using mainly. You really should be using Cleansing Flame a lot for the combo. Next up we have the two... Oh, I skipped one. Mountain Slam. Big range, best add-ons. Used for a 1v1 combo and a large scale extension. Next up, let's talk about these together. Black Blood's Descent and Omua's Subjugation. I use these for mobility. You can link these together nicely. Be mindful about Black Blood Descent. The end of the animation, let's say, right now it's unprotected. The super armor ends earlier than the skill animation. Same goes for Flow Suppress. Is this part. When you're getting the stuff up, it's completely unprotected. The super ammo ends too early. Oh, excuse me. What did I miss? Black Blast Circle. This is the main healing skill you use outside of combat. If you keep holding Shift Q, every tick you get 200 HP. Other main thing you use this for is to debuff people with anti-evasion. You can stack up to 19% with add-ons plus the skill effects itself. Used in anti-evasion combo or in group fights to debuff people normally. Okay, going into the rub bumps. First off, just pick whatever you want. I use this super armor. I mainly never use this ever. You can use it to just self-buff yourself for magic DP and down attack damage, or as a filler, or a swap to pre-awaken if you want to stay still and continue doing some AoE skills damage. For the 57, I took an Oma Circle. For PvP, you would use this to just slow people at the range, because this slow stacks with your other slow, so you can slow people for almost like 60-70%. The reason I have this now is for grinding. It has big range. It pulls a lot of mobs. It doesn't have a strong hit, so you won't mess up your mobs. Most of the time they will come. And for the one that's actually exciting, for 58, we have Mountain's Echo, which is a really amazing mobility skill that At the end, you can instantly link into any animation you desire. Just be mindful when you link it into a subjugation, it links into the normal animation. This is the alternate animation that can at the end be cancelled with 30 step forward. See that again. The other way you can cast or use the alternate animation of Omua's subjugation is from Fierce Disdain. Okay, let's see. Yes, now we're gonna go straight into some combo section. Alright, so first of all, I would talk about your Cookie Cutter Infinite general PV combo that we use on most grind spots. It's literally 3 to 4 skill damage rotation and 2 additional skills for sub buffing. It goes Cleansing Flame for damage and a monster AP buff. Next goes for first attack of Glorious Advance for attack speed buff. Next is AP buff from Fireborn Rapture that goes into cancel animation of God Incinerator for damage, recovery crit buff add-on, and that goes straight into Searing Fang, which is another damage skill, also DPD buff, and it recovers completely your WP, and then you just hold RMB for flow suppress. If you do not have any other attack speed on, this combo can be linked continuously forever. If you're grinding other grind spots that you're getting maybe other buffs, absorb, etc., Ash Forest, Olon's Valley, you have to just watch out, keep on moving, and adapt your skills and maybe your add-ons to the spots itself. In a lot of these spots, you'll be using your Dragon's Maw as well for forward guarding, recovering HP if you have the elixirs up, etc. So utilize your pre-awakening as well. Sometimes use Flow Reveal for sub-buffing crit rate, move around with top 1 subjugation, etc. Play around. Next up, I'm gonna go briefly into the 1v1 combos. There's not that many, but how you CC people in duels or whatever, mainly your choke slam grab, which is a knockdown. Otherwise, sometimes you catch people with your Fierce Disdain. Then you would go into choke slam or mountain slam. If you CC people with Disdain and go into mountain slam, it should be knockdown most of the time. Or 100%, I'm not really sure. Mute the camera. Otherwise, you can CC people in Pre-Awakening. You can sometimes catch people, as I mentioned before, with your Frigid Wave, which is a float, or nowadays with your core skill Cleansing Flame. You would be doing that a lot. Anyway, first of all, I'm gonna go into the Pre-Awakening CC, which is from a knockdown initially, or a grab. That's the first combo by Carl. Basically, now utilizing the core Cleansing Flame, you grab people, you knock down them, then you use your Mountain Slam. I was messing up skills. This is the Avalanche Strike, I think. Yep. You CC people with Pre-Awakening with Avalanche Strike or a grab. Next up, you use your Mountain Slam to do a little bit of damage. Apply yourself crit rate buff for the Cleansing Flame you're gonna be using next, and a minus DPD buff. Next up is the float from Cleansing Flame. Using float because most people don't have resists for floating. Most of them have knockdown resists at high 90 to 100%. Only problem is float is really short CC, so next we don't really have that much time. We do both hits of Searing Fang, and then depending on who you're fighting, if you're fighting a non-grab class, you do Shift Q, Counter Incinerator instantly, or if you're fighting a grab class, let's say, and they're not dead, you just disengage, do your 2 iframes, get some distance. If they're getting up slowly, you can at the end use Frigid Wind to go into your lingering iframe. Next up is another adaptation of this combo, but instead of Mountain Slam, we're using Black Blood Circle that's used for debuffing high evasion targets. Only problem with this combo is that Black Blood Circle is way slower, so if you don't have high attack speed, they might be getting up before you're floating up with Cleansing Flame, so watch out and try it out. Okay, other ways, if you're CCing people, a lot of times you'll be doing that with Cleansing Flame. You either need to follow up with your Frigid Wind, or you can use your Scorn from Slash for another float CC and then do, let's say, Searing Fang for damage. And you know, the same thing after the float that we've been using last time, or you can go, let's say, gap closer distance, grab them, and then continue with something else. Let's see. Grab, T-swap, Searing Fang, Shift Q. It's one adaptation you can try using. Another adaptation with, oh, I messed that up. Reset. With extending with Frigid Wind for better gap close if you're seeing somebody at range. Alright, that's about it for the combos. Now I'm gonna just talk briefly for what you'd be using in large scale or group combat like RBF, etc. In large scale, a lot of times you would be either going in and doing your damage or just stay at the side and apply range pressure with your medium range skills. You should be cycling most of the Cleansing Flame, got Incinerator. If you want to go ballsy or a little bit risky, you do both hits of your Searing Fang. Otherwise, you can do only one, which is protected. Or you could be using your Dragon's Maw. If you have the distance and you know nobody can gap close you, you pre-charge it. And then you do at range. Otherwise, use your range abilities, etc. You will be moving around with your forward Q, forward RMB. In pre-awakening, these skills both cancel from awakening. Only problem is if you do not hotbar Dome of Subjugation, which I don't really have a need to, it can be only used to swap from awakening with Frigid Wind on cooldown. That's why I usually use the alternate animation from Fierce Disdain. This is when Frigid Wind is on cooldown, it does the normal animation. I highly recommend you don't do this. Just use the Omwa Subjugation second animation, which in the end can be cancelled more fluently with Sturdy Step. Okay. That would be probably everything from me for today. I hope you enjoyed this Guardian guide. Um, I know it's been a little sketchy, but this is the best I can do basically. Most of this stuff is already posted in the Guardian Discord in Awakening Guide, so if you wanna have a read through, please do. All the important skills are described there and what they are used for. And otherwise, you can catch me on twitch.tv/RaikiTV. I'm streaming there most of the time, Node Wars, Sieges, and other PvP content. Yeah. Anyway, if you have any questions, please reach to me out on my Discord as well. I'm administrator of the Guardian Discord. Until then, yeah, guys, take care. Bye bye.